Hi friends, welcome to episode number 15 of our Master Planning Level 1 series. This is going to be the last episode in our Master Planning Level 1 series of videos. So I'm sure you have been following the episodes one after the other to get full benefit of the series of videos which is published in D3 Straight Talks. And I'll be happy to get your feedbacks and let me know what your thoughts in the comment section, and we will plan our upcoming series also based on the same. And in this last episode, we will continue to explore about the other use case related to planned purchase order, especially with respect to safety margin configuration, which is one of the key configurations or capability which is often used by majority of the planners in order to determine the requested ship date and receipt dates. And we will also look at one of the important key inquiries used by the planners in order to determine the item requirements. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel D3 Talks or follow my profile in LinkedIn. With that note, let's quickly jump into our last topic in Master Planning Level 1 series. So let's quickly get into the topic, the final episode of our Master Planning Level 1 series. So we will cover another, what are the balance left with concepts which we want to discuss as part of the planned purchase orders. In this episode, also we will discuss about the item requirement statistics inquiry, which is one of the pretty important inquiry which you should be aware of. So as part of this series of videos, if you are watching from the beginning, we have covered some of the key concepts related to master planning, especially coverage group, time fences, action delays, calendars, net requirements. So all of these are important topics as far as the master planning is concerned. Until unless you are aware of all these, you will not be able to run and get the appropriate results, whether it is with respect to planned purchase order, production order, or transfer orders. So this is at a very basic level. We have touched upon all the related concepts, and in the last two episodes we were looking at some of the use cases related to planned purchase order. In this episode number 15 also, we will be primarily looking at the couple of use cases related to how do we handle the safety margin if you are planning to include the safety margin as part of your coverage group. And so we will quickly get into that. So the purpose of this particular session is to cover on regarding the safety margin use case, and we will talk quickly about the item requirement statistics. And also in this video's description, I will share the link for the master planning basics training material, which is actually offered by Microsoft. So it's available in the learning doc. I will share the link for the page. Please feel free to go through that particular article, and it will be really helpful for you to get some details on the basic topics whatever we have discussed. So with that, so let's talk about the safety margin. So we already discussed about why do we need to provide a safety margin in our previous episode. If not, please do check out the same. And in that we were discussing on how do we handle the receipt and issue margin, because this is one of the key concepts related to purchase orders. If we are generating the planned purchase orders, and if you want to add those safety margins when you are processing the purchase orders, then you need to configure those in the coverage group. So for example, in this case, let's say you're planning to I'm not sure, actually the date must be incorrect, but I will try to change the date also in this case. Let's say we have a date, we want to receive the order on ship the order to the customer on 3rd of January, but in order to ship the order on 3rd of January, we want to kind of receive the material on 1st of January. We are saying that to the system the requirement is not actually on 3rd of January, but instead we want the material to be delivered to us on 1st of January. Actual requirement date is 1st of January. So that we need to provide a safety margin of 2 days. And also when we are processing it to the vendor, we are not saying that the requirement need to be fulfilled on 1st. Let's say we need to receive the material, do the inspection, and then if you want to do your own internal packing and stuff, at least you need 4 to 5 days. And let's say you are provided 3 or 4 days of additional safety margin for receipt. So in that case, the actual purchase order receipt date will be modified as 28/12 and instead of 1/1, right? So this is the whole idea for giving the safety margin. So let's get into the T3 screen to understand how do we configure this. So first of all, the first most important thing what we need to do is the item which we are using, we need to understand what is the coverage group which is tagged with. So in the release products, so of course you can also give the safety margin in the item coverage level. So let me show you, give you a quick recap. So this is the item which we are using for the last 2 episodes. So if you go under plan and then item coverage, so in the item coverage, even if you click on new and if you have added the details over here, there the general section. So if you can always override the coverage group settings. So you can provide a separate coverage code here. Here the coverage code is period, and I'm not going to override that. So here you can also provide the minimum and maximum inventory level which you want to configure, but at this time we are not giving that. So what we need to consider is, so either you can provide if you want, you can provide a coverage code over here. So this will be picked always, or if you have provided it in the release product itself, let's say if you have provided the coverage group over here, manage inventory plan. So this will be the coverage group which the system will tend to pick. So let's say this is the coverage group. So we know the coverage group right now, which is period-1. So let me click on period-1. So in this case, the safety margin, if we check under the other FOSS tab, so the safety margins are 0 as of now, right? So what we will do is we will just get back to sales and marketing. We'll quickly create a sales order. Right now we can see that all the safety margins are 0. With 0, what we are going to do is we'll create a new sales order. I'll put any customer, then let me select any warehouse. It can be, yeah, let's select this warehouse 41. Then let me click on OK. So what we are trying to do is we will create a sales order for this particular item with a requirement quantity of, let's say, 1, 2, 3. So this is the requirement quantity, and under the delivery section you can see the requested ship date and the requested receipt date. So right now it is 26/5, which is May 25. We need to ship this particular material. May 26th May 2025 is the date during which we need to ship this material. Let me save this. So on the other tab, what I will do is, let me open the release products, and I'll open the item, and then we will quickly run the master planning, right? So test plan. So net requirement, I'll do this by quickly getting into the net requirements page. So here you can see the requirement is now captured 41.4. This is the sales order 889. Let's check this one. Yeah, this is the sales order which is 889. So this requirement is calculated, but no purchase order is pegged as of now. So let's run the master planning. So let it be dynamic plan with the net change. Let me click on OK. So for 41.4, planned purchase order is created, and you can see the requirement date is still 26/5. So which means we actually need to ship the order on 26/5, and the requirement date which is calculated in the net requirements page is also 26/5. So let's go to the planned purchase order, and what I will do is I will also firm this order. I'll provide a vendor. Let me provide a vendor as AD supply. Then let me save it, and then let me firm this order. So the requirement date is 20. So the sales order confirmed ship date is also 26/5, and the requirement date calculated by the master planning is also 26/5. And now if you look at the firming history for the item, yeah, this is 1, 2, 3 quantity. If we get into the planned purchase order, so here if you check the delivery date, here also you will see the requested ship date is also 26/5. So which means you are expecting the vendor to deliver the material on 26/5, and at the same day you are shipping the material to your customer, which is also on 26/5. Let's say because of some kind of disruptions, or because supply chains are often subject to disruptions, and there can be unforeseen delays. So if you want to add a cushion of safety margin in terms of the requested ship date and receipt date, so that's what you need. If you want to do that's kind of configuration, that can be done by using the safety margin what we have. So let's say let's go back to the coverage group setting, and period 1 was the coverage group which was tagged to our item. So let's say if I add a receipt margin, so what happens here is the receipt margin is added to the requirement date whenever the requirement date is calculated, and the issue margin is deducted from the requirement date. So this is something which we already discussed, but I just want to highlight that. So let's say receipt margin, let's keep this as 6 days. I just want to have a buffer of 6 days once I receive the material, but at the same time, before I issue the material to the customer, I want to keep a issue margin of 2 days. I'm not going to configure the reorder margin, which will get added to the item lead time, but let it be 0 because I am already giving a receipt margin of 6 days. So let me save this. So now what I will do is let me go back and create another fresh sales order. Let me go to sales and marketing, all sales orders. So this time I want the requirement date to be added by 6 days and the issue margin need to be added by 2 days, right? So let me click on new. Let me add any customer. Let me put a different warehouse so that it is easy for us to understand. Let me put a warehouse number 51 so that it is easy for us to identify the line item in the net requirements page. So let me enter the same item. Let the quantity be 321 this time. So the quantity is 321. So let's look at the delivery date. Now the delivery date, actually what we have is requested ship date is actually 27/5. So here in this case we need to ship the material from our premise, which is site 5 warehouse 51 to the customer Condor Retail San Diego on 27th of May, right? So this is the requested ship date for us. Let me save this. Now what we will do is in the another tab, let me go back and then I will run the net requirements page. Yeah, we are in the net requirements page. So I expect the line, yeah, now we have the line 51.5 also added in the net requirements page. So we have a sales order which is actually from which the requirement is coming, but we do not have any purchase order pegged against the sales order. So let's run the MRP master planning, and then let it be dynamic plan. Let me click on OK. So this will create a planned purchase order for the requirement. Yeah, you can see that. And so in this case, you can see the requirement date is 25/5. So what actually happened is in the sales order, you can see the requested ship date is 27/5. Let me duplicate this tab. So let me go back to the master planning. So we have given an issue margin of 2 days, and then coverage group period. So in this case, what happened is we have given an issue margin of 2 days. So the 2 days is actually deducted from the sales order actual shipment date. So what happened is we want to ship the material to 27/5, but we want to ensure that we get the material ready on 25th itself. So when the master planning run, it actually generated the requirement date as 25/5 instead of 27/5. So we got a 2 days of cushion over here. So let's say if I get into the planned purchase order, let me give any vendor. I think that should be fine. I give a Acme Office supply. Let me save this. But when I actually want the communication to go to vendor, I do not want him to give supply the material on 25/5, but instead I want him to supply the material with a cushion of 6 days. So we have given a receipt margin of 6 days, which is actually the requirement is not 25 but 6 days minus 25, which will be like 19/5 should be the requested ship date for my vendor to supply the material. So let's see how the system behaves. So we have given actually 6 days as a safety margin. Let me go to firming history. Then this is the line item which we just currently firmed. So let me go to the purchase order 155. And if I go to the delivery section, you can see actually the requested ship date is 19/5, because the reason is in the coverage group we have given a receipt margin which is added to a requirement date, because our requirement date was 25, and we wanted actually additional 6 days of cushion period, which I added to our requirement date, and now the actual ship date for our vendor is 19/5. So instead of getting the material on time, we are getting it in advance because of certain safety margin, whatever we have calculated. so that because of any even if we have any disruptions or delays, or because of our process challenges, if we have anything like that, then we will be able to still address that. So we will have a cushion of 6 days for processing the material, and then if you want to complete any quality inspection, or if you are using it for your production process, or if you want to complete any internal packaging and other stuffs, so still you will be able to ship the material on 27/5 as per the sales order, right? So we got 2 days of cushion margin for issue, and we got 6 days of cushion margin for receipt from the vendor. So this is how you need to configure it. So that was the case we were looking at here primarily. How do we configure the PO receipt and the issue margin, right? So the other topic which we want to discuss is regarding the item requirement statistics. So we'll discuss about this topic. Let me go back to the Dynamics 365 screen. So we have a lot of inquiries available in the master planning page, but one important topic which I just want to touch upon is this item requirement statistics. So this is an important inquiry. If we get into master planning, and let me collapse all, then inquiries and reports. Then if you get into master planning, you have a section called item requirement statistics. This is one of the key aspect as far as the inquiries which are used by the master planners. If you click on this item requirement statistics, by default it fetches you the details of all the items which are under the based on the requirement quantity which are need to be processed. And in this case you get an overview, but it is also strongly recommended to use the filters which are available over here based on the item, or you can, if it is a planned purchase order, you can also filter it based on the vendor. Let's say if I want to filter our item number, which is this test plan, this is the item which we are using, and for the static plan we need to change the plan type. I think static plan we didn't run anything. I think most of them are dynamic. Yeah, so we have the dynamic order, and we can see the requirement quantity here. So let me go to, also you can view it in the graphics section, like you can view the planned purchase orders which are generated. So we have a planned purchase order for 250 quantity which is not yet firmed, and we also have a planned purchase order for 10 quantity. So this gives you a pictorial representation of which needs the attention, and you can also view it by the vendor account, and typically it is recommended to view by the item number, so that you get an idea of what are the list of items and what is the requirement level which is pending for in the pipeline, right? So at the eye level you will get a good overview of this, and you can, if you want, you can also add the other dimensions on the top by clicking on display dimension, and if you want to add any other dimensions, or if you want to remove any specific dimensions. And this is one of the important page, and let me check if there are any other items. Let me remove the item number filtration. So I think so there are a lot of items over here, but so the idea is you get an overview of all the list of items of the planned order over here, and also you will be able to view the reference order types for the planned purchase order and production order. And also I forgot to tell you in the last episode that at any point in time you will also be able to change the reference type based on your business requirements. Let's say if we have if the system has generated a planned purchase order based on the default order settings. If I get into product information management, release products, by default always the master plan, whenever it runs, it checks the default order settings under plan action tab, and the default order settings it picks the default order type. In this case this item is always the default order type is purchase order. In case if it is a production order, then by default it always generates a planned production order in order to generate the planned orders whatever this item is supposed to. But if at all, if you want to change the order type, let's say if you want to, let's say let me go back to master planning, then master planning, planned orders. For some reasons, if you want to change a planned purchase order to a planned production order, some of the cases what I have seen is, let's say because of due to capacity constraints, a planned production order is generated. Let's say for this speaker item D0006, which is typically produced in our in-house in the manufacturing facility, but for some reasons you do not have a capacity because of maybe machine breakdowns or labor shortage, or because of capacity overload. If you want to convert this into a planned purchase order, you can also do that by simply changing this to a planned purchase order. If you click on planned purchase order, then this item will be completely changed to a planned purchase order. So in that case, you convert this into a planned purchase order, and then you can start working on converting using this item as a planned purchase order, and based on which you can process the material. So that is also something which is possible. And also in the last episode, we also missed about when we discussed about the grouping logic. Primarily, when it happens is when you are trying to form all the planned purchase order which got generated, or the planned production order which are generated. If you click on form all, there you have the option to enable or disable. These options are primarily fetched from the configuration what we did in the master planning parameters. But at any point in time, you will have the option to disable it if you do not want to apply the grouping logic. And then once the forming process is completed, you can see that all the orders are kind of clubbed together in order to generate based on the vendor or vendor group, right? So that's about the grouping logic, which we didn't discuss about when we click on form all. And the last one which I want to touch upon is I have this training material opened in another tab. Let me switch over the tab. Yeah, so this was the document which I was referring to in the beginning of this episode, and this is about setup master planning in Dynamics 365 SCM with 14 units of quality readable content, and sometimes even required I also go through some of the content which is available in Dynamics Learn page, and based on which I do the prep and then publish the videos in our channel D365 Talks. So I will strongly recommend you to walk through some of these key concepts and get yourself refreshed with what are the topics which we have discussed. And even if required, you also feel free to navigate to browse all training materials and filter the appropriate content related to Dynamics 365. These are predominantly learning content, readable content. And if you are someone interested in consuming only the video-based content, then feel free to watch the videos which we publish in our channel D365 Talks, right? So I'll share the link for this document in this video's description. Please do check out the same. And with that, I think we are coming to end of this episode. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel D365 Talks or follow my profile in LinkedIn. I'll catch you soon in another interesting series of videos. Sriram Sivashankaran signing off.